Welcome back. Let's see how these three lenses handled some handheld shooting around Leeds.
I love you like la 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 la.
Public safety announcement: don't stack your lenses. You're gonna scratch the glass, aren't you? You're gonna scratch the glass. My name's George. I'm a photographer and videographer in Leeds. If you haven't seen last week's video, go check that out here, where I talked about the Canon 85 1.8, the 50 1.8, and the 24 2.8. Last weekend, I went out with my friend Ryan for a little walk around Leeds through the market and the corn exchange, just to shoot a little bit of footage while he was getting some actually really nice photos of me. I mean, I dig it. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks very much, man. Ryan also volunteered to do some modelling for me, just getting some walking shots, all handheld, using these three different lenses, so that we can look at the different focal lengths, what they do well and what they don't do well, and what kind of situations require each lens. First and foremost, we have a shot of Ryan in Leeds Market. Anyone who's from Leeds, you know where we're at. You know these little crossroads, the little snickets. We can see Ryan here, slow-mo, going to take a shot on his Olympus. I'm curious, which lens do you think this is on? Clearly it's not the 24mm, because 24mm is what we're at right now, which is quite wide. You know, we're getting some reach, we're getting some perspective, it's different. Here we are at a telephoto lens, but whether or not it's like a mid-tele like the 50mm, or if it's at a slightly more telephoto lens like the 85mm. This shot here is at the 85mm. I am actually some distance away from Ryan at the moment, and I was sort of like doing a little walkie shot, just trying to do my little ninja walk. We are getting a fair bit of compression here, but Ryan's still quite far away from the lens. So here, he and the background don't look too compressed, but if he was much closer, you would start to see things squishing a bit more behind him. What the bloody hell was that noise? I've got an Amazon package arriving, so if I shoot off, that's where I've gone. These next two shots are Ryan as he's walking into Leeds Corn Exchange. The first is shot on the 24mm f2.8. The first thing I've noticed about this shot is we haven't kept it level, have we, George? You ever heard of a horizon, mate? Maybe don't shoot like that. Shoot like this. Do better. The 24mm gives us a much wider field of view. We get to see Ryan on the left hand side here as he's making his way across the right of the frame, and we're doing a little follow of him as we go up the steps. As this shot continues, we cut onto a close-up. This close-up is actually locked off at manual focus so that the camera can swing past and we see it just there as he drifts off into the distance. I'm curious. So here, based on the shot we looked at before, which was on the 85mm, if we think this is at 85 or if this is at 50. This is still quite close. You're getting a nice shallow depth of field here, but both of those lenses offer that. What do you reckon? Final answer? You guessed it, That's the 50mm 1.8. That was the 50mm. Oh. I know you were thinking it was the 85. That's the 50mm. That's the 50. Okay, right. Just as a quick note, I am slowing all these shots down just so I can sort of talk about it a bit better, because otherwise they're quite quick shots. So here we have Ryan in Corn Exchange, taking a shot of something, creeping around him handheld here, getting a nice little shot. I'm curious, what do you reckon? 50? 85? 50? Or 85? I know what you're thinking. What's the pattern here? There is no pattern. Completely random. That was the 50mm. That was a 50mm 1.8. Following on from this shot, we are heading downstairs. We've got quite a tight little shot here. Quite a tight little shot. We are following Ryan downstairs, sort of with a bit of this banister blurred out in the foreground. See his camera sort of swinging down again, similar to what we did earlier on. And what do you reckon? Was that the 85? Or was that the 50? Although we are doing this shot handheld, I am actually sort of gliding across this top banister, just because I thought, rather than doing it handheld like that up in the air a little bit, rest down, sort of use the friction to my advantage. This shot here is, again, on the 50mm 1.8. Our next shot is following Ryan as we're down the stairs and he's sat on the sofa looking through some of the photos he's taken so far, thinking, wow, Leeds is such a nice place to take photos in. I'm doing a little creepy shot coming out from behind the leaves, spying on Ryan, then cutting to another shot of him sat on the sofa. And I bet you're thinking, those both look like 85mm shots. And do you know what? You'd be right. That whole section, 85mm. And we're following him walking into a record shop to look at some records. This shot here in the record shop, both of these shots following him walking into the record shop are on the 85mm as well. I really like that when you're shooting at a longer focal length, if you sort of are watching someone do something, you can sort of compress space in the foreground and background to tell a little bit more of the story. Whereas if you're shooting on a wider lens, you can do that sort of thing as well. You're sort of showing more things in blatant view. But having things ever so slightly obstructing the subject, or the subject obstructing other things via compression, I think just adds like another dimension to your images and to your storytelling. Another one here which is on the 24mm. This is just before we left Corn Exchange. I'm following Ryan from front on as he goes to take a look out and take a little shot. After leaving Corn Exchange, we walked around Leeds a little bit more. Ryan was taking some more photos, and the last couple of clips that I took were actually at Trinity Kitchen, and there were just a couple of shots here, one of which was just a nice little thing to show off this orange and teal little light array they had up top, which looked really nice, and then a whoosh transition down onto Ryan. But if you notice anything about this whoosh transition, the transition there was fairly smooth. The first shot of that, this one on the lights with the home sign in the foreground, that was on the 85mm, and then we whooshed down onto the 24mm. So this is something I think is very wise to think about, because if I had done that shot in one continuous motion with one lens, I wouldn't have been able to get those two perspectives and to have it feel like one shot. But via doing a little in-camera blur whoosh transition, people are none the wiser unless you explicitly explain it to them in a YouTube video. This walk around Leeds with Ryan was the first time I'd shot on just these 3 primes handheld in quite a long time. Whenever I had shot with these more recently, they'd been on a gimbal just because they make my setup a bit lighter. Other than that, when I've been shooting handheld recently, I've been shooting on my zoom lens. Going through this footage has made me miss shooting on my primes a little bit. So I think I might be going out on the odd little day trip with people, taking out just one of these primes now and then, just so I can get into a bit more of a flow. Another prime I've been keen to experiment a little bit more with on video is the Helios 44M f2. This is an old vintage M42 mount lens that I've adapted to my camera, so I'm interested to experiment with this a little bit more, and I'll be doing a video on this in a couple of weeks' time. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment and like down below, and I'll see you in the next video.
I love you like la